like to call the meeting to order Thursday, September 2nd, 2021. And I would like to, please silence your cell phones, and if you would like to speak on any particular item, bring a blue slip up to Ms. Jessica. Item 2, invocation and pledge of allegiance by Mr. Guillory.
Thank you. Dear God, please give us the endurance to continue ahead. Please guide our thoughts, words, and action so that we walk your path of peace and love. Ask for your blessings as Calcasieu continue to rebuild, and ask for prayers for those that was in the path of idol. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Guillory. Ms. Kathy, roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Andrepont?
Here.
Mr. Barrett?
Here.
Mr. Bartle?
Here.
Vice President Green?
Here.
Mr. Hurwitz?
Here.
Mr. Guillory?
Here.
Mr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Landry?
Here.
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mr. Marcantel?
Here.
Mr. Richard?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Skelly?
Here.
Mr. Tramonte?
Here.
President Abshire?
Here. Thank you, ma'am. Item 4, we have an appearance by Mr. Jeremy Stein, candidate for Louisiana State Senate District 27. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll be brief. You have a lot of important work to do. I apologize. I'm a little smelly here. We just got through standing up our storm walker in Livingston Parish, and as you know, Hurricane Ida did a number on many communities. But it's amazing to see communities come together. What we've been through here in Livingston Parish, they're going through that same thing, and it's just it's truly a blessing. People always ask, why are you running? And you take a step back and you think of, when just looking at everyone in this room, it's folks like you all that have inspired me to do this. I tell you this, and you all know this, y'all have done it before. This is my first time doing this. It's a whole lot different thinking about doing it and actually doing it. Sometimes I want, we wake up, what am I thinking? But I genuinely mean that. Everyone, single one, I truly respect you all much more doing it in the race, doing this thing. And but you all have inspired me, everyone in this room, everyone in this community, to take this on. Probably one of the, and I'll dive in real quick to the boring detail. I know I'll keep it to 3 or 40 minutes, I promise. 3 to 4. But one of the persons that's inspired me the most, probably, arguably, at least recently, is a man by the name of Congressman Luke Letlow. Luke's a dear friend of mine. He passed away due to COVID-19, but he was a man who watched us very carefully during the pandemic. He was campaigning for Congress at the time, and he would text me often. We were friends back in the day, and he said, "Jeremy, you have a beautiful community." And he said, never think that he was watching videos on Facebook about us feeding folks in the parking lot and just Southwest Louisiana in general come together. And he was inspired by us. And his last words were keep moving the ball down the field. I got to check him on Christmas just a couple nights before he passed. And he said, man, I'm in great spirits. I'm turning a corner. But he was inspired by us because of our community and how we've come together, and I'm inspired by the folks over that I was just helping in Livingston Parish. And I'm excited about this race. I feel great about this race. Real quick on the boring details. Born and raised here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Of course, family's mostly from Sulphur. I was born in Lake Charles because we were building a store in 1980 on Country Club Road, and went off to do public school system here in Lake Charles. I went to LSU, worked in the state legislature, worked my way through college at the state legislature, learned a lot in Baton Rouge on how to get things done and what not to do. And after college, I went and worked in the United States Senate. I was here for Hurricane Rita, but went to Washington, D.C. right after that. And I was fortunate to be in a position to assist Cameron Parish and Calcasieu Parish rebuild, whether it was Gulf Opportunity Zone or FEMA issues or flood map issues, getting to see federal, state, and local work together. Having had that experience in Baton Rouge and having had that experience in Washington, D.C., I felt great learning a little bit about it from there. After that, I wanted to raise my family in South Louisiana, and came home and worked as a public finance banker. It opened my eyes on how to fund things. You all know how to do it. You're on the police jury. You all know what to do when it comes to funding public works projects. And that's what I did on the public finance side as a public finance banker for Stevens. And what we did, we would have to work with the bond commission. We'd have to work with police jurors. We'd have to work with bond counsels and financial advisors. Those are sort of the four main components of that. Got to peel behind the curtain and see how to do it from a public finance side. So I know how to get things done and fund things. And I look forward to working with you all. We have a lot of work to do, obviously. My last project that I worked on before I jumped back into the family business was Ward 3 Recreation. Got to see that come to fruition. That was a great experience underwriting those bonds and talking with the folks involved in that particular deal. So very proud of my record there. And then, again, working with Stein Lumber. I joked my family didn't believe in child labor laws, so as soon as I could walk, they put me in the lumber yard and had me loading lumber. Judd knows all too well. But I'm blessed to be a part of a great family who has a great work ethic. My campaign theme is the campaign theme of our lumber company. When you come to work for Stein Lumber, we give you a brochure. The brochure specifically says, here are our core values: faith, family, community, and what's most important is faith. And people always talk about our grit and how resilient we are. That part that they leave out in the media is our faith. The grit and the resiliency that you hear about, that comes, we're a faith-based people. And I couldn't be more proud of our community. I hope to fight for you in Baton Rouge, work along every side, one of you, and learn from you, more importantly. Y'all been doing this for a long time, and I respect y'all so much for what y'all do for our community. I think I wish the people knew how much y'all do. I talk with Judd and others, and I realize that y'all are under a lot of stress trying to get this community back together. I hope to fight alongside you and, again, learn from you. I would be honored to have your vote, September 25th, early voting for a week, Election Day, October 9th. I truly look forward to this task and rebuilding Calcasieu Parish together. And so I'll leave you with that, with the faith, family, community. We're going to get this thing back together. God bless you all. I went way over time, President, but thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jeremy. Best of luck to you. Item 5, take appropriate action on applications for liquor and beer permits. Staff
Second.
recommends one new application and one special event permit be approved. I have a motion by Mr. Lewis and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries.
Move on item 6.
Second.
Item 6, consideration of approving payment of all current invoices. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. I want to remind everyone to turn off your microphones if you're not speaking. Getting a little feedback. And raise your hand for my Vice President. Item 7, consideration of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the police jury dated August 5th, 2021. I have a motion by Mr. Richard and a second by Mr. Burley. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries.
Move on item 8.
Item 8, take appropriate action to relocate precinct number 402 and 465 to Frash Elementary School from the former location at Frash Park Recreation Center. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Bartle. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 9, consideration of
Move on
adopting a
9.
resolution approving an active sale agreement for the Packing House Road multi-bridge replacement project in Ward 8. I have a motion by Mr. Stelly and a second by Mr. Marcantel. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 10, consideration of adopting a resolution approving the resubmittal of an application for fiscal year 2022 to 2023 capital outlay request for the gravity sewer trunk mains and pumping stations for the South Ward 3 and South Ward 4 project. I have a motion by Mr. Burley and a second by Mr. Bartle. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Richard.
Yeah, may I ask, why do we have to resubmit? What, is just the process, or there was a reason?
Mr.
that we
Bean?
had Just the process? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Richard, in capital outlay, which is set through the state, it's for state funding, every year, you're correct, you have to resubmit whether it is a project they've already allocated funds to you still have to resubmit, or if it's new. So yes, that's the short answer, and it's, this time of year is when we do it.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Item carries. Item 11, consideration of
President.
adopting.
Move on 11.
If the record will reflect, I'd like to recuse myself on item 11.
Thank you, sir. Item 11, consideration of adopting a resolution approving an active donation agreement for the donation of property to the police jury for the Axial Plant Expansion Project in Ward 4. I have a motion by Mr. Tramonte and a second by Mr. Burley. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 12, consideration of adopting a resolution
12.
approving an amendment to include additional services for the LA 27, LA 1256 corridor project between Dave Dugas Road and Patton Street in Ward 4. I have a motion by Mr. Tramonte and a second by Mr. Stelly. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 13, consideration of adopting a resolution approving the submittal of an application sponsor agreement for the Family Daycare Home Food Program. I have a motion by Mr. Hayes and a second by Mr. Barty. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 14, consideration of adopting a resolution approving an extension to the telephone system contract for the Calcasieu Parish Public Library System's telephone services. I have a motion by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 15, consideration of authorizing the parish purchasing agent to advertise for the Office of Juvenile Justice Services Hurricane Repair Project. I have a motion by Mr. Guillory and a second by Mr. Barty. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 16, consideration of adopting a resolution suspending the parish's policies for procurement to advertise for a request for proposals for archaeological services related to compliance with the FEMA Public Assistance Program.
Move on 16.
I have a motion by Mr. Stelly and a second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Mr. Beam, could you elaborate on this? We'll go, let's, the reason I'm asking for a little light on this particular one is because, you know, everybody thinks that the lateral cleanup thing is just, oh, get out there, do it, get out there and do it. Please explain this.
Thank you, Mr. Barris. Yes, I appreciate the question, and it is true. The item, this is the, I hate to say project because it's so much bigger, but this ties into the whole debris removal from drainage laterals effort. And in order to get FEMA reimbursement and through all the rules, it's so different from road debris where you just literally, it's a lot of work, but it's right there at the edge of the road, pick it up, haul it off to temporary sites, so forth. Because you're going in a lot of off-road areas throughout the whole parish, you're going to have areas that could be impacted that may have some historic value, environmental. It's called EHP, and I forget what the P stands for. I hate to say that. But FEMA requires that to be looked at. So all the actions to remove from a given area in a lateral, for example, you have to make sure you're not disturbing that. And it is a important thing, but frankly, it delays things a lot. I will tell you, in this room, when the FEMA administrator was here a week ago, Kelly Fontenot, on your behalf, spoke very eloquently and clearly to Ms. Criswell, the administrator, asking for that period of time of reviews for this kind of thing be shortened from 30 days to 15. So we're all frustrated. We have to do it, but that's why people, if you're not seeing all these things out there, this is a part of it. So I didn't mean to be that long-winded about it. But you have to have archaeology people determining that. That's why this is there.
Thank you, Mr. Beam. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any other questions or discussion? Motion carries. Item 17,
We want
take
17
appropriate
all
action on the
bullets.
following bids and/or proposals. A, Claim Management Risk Management Information System Software. Staff recommends the proposal of JW Software, Inc. be accepted. Item B, Emergency Standby Products and Services. Staff recommends the proposal of Garner Environmental Services, Inc. be accepted. Item C, Farm Road Multi-Bridge Replacement Project in Wards 2 and 8. The parish engineer recommends that the low bid in the amount of $2,499,394.75 of HD Truck and Tractor LLC be accepted. Item D, crushed stone. Staff recommends the bids of APEC Aggregate Supply, DP Aggregates, and Port Aggregates be accepted. Item E, hot mix. Staff recommends the responsible bid of RE Height Construction be accepted. Item F, ready mix concrete. Staff recommends the bid of Dunham Price LLC be accepted. Have a motion on all bullets by Mr. Burley and a second by Mr. Andrepont. Discussion, Mr. Hayes.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at the proposals for claim management, risk management information system, but I don't see any numbers. Is there a reason why we don't have a number?
Laura Bolton, Director of Risk Management. Those are professional services. We did receive bids, but of course that will be negotiated out further as we decide the interfaces that are needed. So there may be some changes in pricing as we go through that. I'm not sure exactly how that works with accounts payable and finance, but I do know that it's going to be further negotiated as we go through it.
Laura, are we going to hear the final number at some point?
I can give you the numbers right now as the proposals came in. So the implementation process, which will be the one-time first year amount for the group that we chose, is $49,500. But of course, as we're doing the data dump, there may be slight changes in the pricing. Now, there'll also be an annual fee after that to maintain the services. Those are $42,000 per year. So there might be little changes here and there, but that's going to be the basic rates.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Bean.
Thank you, Mr. President. This might help clarify it a little, and correct me if I'm wrong, Laura. In a request for proposals, and I know, Mr. Hayes, you're aware of this, but just for the general public, the selection of a provider here, price is clearly part of the review, but it's also other factors, experience with working and other things. So that's why it's not as cut and dried for just price. We clearly will get that to you, but I don't know the percent breakdown, but is that accurate?
That is
Laura?
very accurate. And like I said, we have those standard pricing that comes in, but especially with claims management, there's links that we have to do to the state and to Medicare that are required. They can give us an estimates, but then when they get in and do the data dump and see how much information we have and how much is going to need to feed, it's going to change slightly. It's not going to be a big difference. So like I said, I think you're still sticking with the main $42,000 annual service fee after that.
And this is the way we've been doing it over the past years?
We've actually been with the same system since 2010. We've had no changes, and unfortunately, that system is no longer going to exist after this year. But yes, we have always just paid a monthly fee to lease a software, and it maintains, actually, just to give you a little further explanation, it maintains our workers' compensation claims, auto, property, general liability, and EPL claims. All of those are self-administered in-house. So we have to have that database that does it and can also maintain litigation and the state and federal reporting requirements. And so like I said, the same system since 2010, and we just pay a monthly leasing fee, and that's the same thing that we're going to be doing with the new software too.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any objection? Motion carries. Item 18, consideration of adopting resolutions accepting the following projects as substantially complete. A, Patton Street Bridge Replacement Project, Ward 4. B, Dean Drive Bridge Replacement Project, Ward 4. C, striping of various roads in Wards 4, 5, 6, and 7. D, Calcasieu Correctional Center and Administration Improvements Project. And E, Public Works Awning Project. I have a motion on all bullets by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Guillory. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Item 19, consideration to notify the following property owner to show cause at a public hearing on October 7th, 2021
Second.
as to why the structure on the property as stipulated should not be condemned. A, 3951 Haymark Road, Southwest Lake Charles area. I have a motion to approve by Mr. Brame and a second by Mr. Andrepont. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Excuse me. Item 20, consideration of
Move on
adopting a
20,
resolution
second.
appointing the Honorable Brian Abshire, Police Bureau, District 5, to serve and represent Calcasieu Parish on the Louisiana Local Government Environmental Facilities and Community Development Authority Board of Directors. I'm sorry, the honorable portion choked me up.
I'll
Yes,
go
Mr.
for,
Barris.
I'll go for this if we can make the name any longer. Where do you even put that on a shirt?
Big shirt. I have a motion to approve by Mr. Stelly and a second by Mr. Richard. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Guillory.
I think it's great anytime anybody, especially from the jury, can serve on different areas. Is this something new, or what is this?
This
Mr.
was a
President?
position that Ms. Buffkin held for many years, and with her retirement approaching, she has decided she won't be here the next meeting that they call, and so they asked me to serve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Any other discussion? Motion carries. And you can refer to me as honorable. Ever. Item 21, take appropriate action on the terms of the
Approve A,
following
all
members of
items.
boards, districts. Item A, Calcasieu Parish Public Trust Authority. Reappoint Mr. Jeffrey Davis and reappoint Mr. John Nash. 3, Ms. Cheryl Burns. Motion to reappoint Ms. Cheryl Burns. Item 4, reappoint Dr. Charles Mackey. 5, reappoint Ms. Terry Johnson. 6, reappoint Mr. Timothy Castle. 7, reappoint Mr. Alvin Stevens. 8, reappoint Mr. Alan Joyner. 9, reappoint Mr. Josh Darby. I have a motion on all bullets by Mr. Lewis and by Mr. Marcantel and a second by Mr. Lewis. Any objections? Any discussion? Motion carries. Item B, Ward 1 Fire Protection District Number 1. Reappoint Mr. Gary Brown and reappoint Ms. Sue Spicer. I have a motion to approve by Mr. Stelly and a second by Mr. Richard. Any objection? Motion carries. Item C, Ward 7 Fire Protection District Number 1. Reappoint Mr. Kent Ledoux and
Move
reappoint
to
Mr. John
reappoint
McClellan.
Mr. Kent Ledoux and Mr. John McClellan.
I have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Andrepont. Any objections? Motion carries. Item D, Waterworks District Number 1 of Ward 1. Reappoint Mr. Tim Aguilard. I have a motion by Mr. Stelly, Mr. Richard, and a second by Mr. Smith. Any objection? Motion carries. Item E, Waterworks District Number 4 of Ward 4. Reappoint Mr. Kenneth Cochran. I have a motion by Mr. Burley and a second by Mr. Barty. Any objection? Motion carries. F, Waterworks District Number 9 of Ward 4. Reappoint Mr. Larry Mouton.
Move to
I have a
reappoint
motion
Mr.
by
Larry
Mr. Barris
Mouton.
and a second by Mr. Tramonte. Any objection? Motion carries. Item G, Waterworks District Number 11 of
Move
Wards
to
4 and
appoint
7.
Mr. Ronnie Bowers.
I have a motion to reappoint Mr. Ronnie Bowers by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Barris. Any objections? Motion carries. Item H, Workforce Development Board.
Move to appoint Logan Morris.
I have a motion to appoint Mr. Logan Morris by Mr. Smith and a second by Mr. Stelly. Any objection? Motion carries. Item 22, advise items. Ward 1 Economic Development Board, the Honorable John Duhan has reappointed Mr. Walter Durio. And B, Representative Brett Guyman has reappointed Mr. Frank or Max Calderera. Number 23, October Board advise items. And number 24, we'll receive a report from Mr. Dick Grimion, Director of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness regarding response efforts related to Hurricane Ida.
Thank you, Mr. Abshire. Dick Grimion, Calcasieu Parish, Director, Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness, 901 Lakeshore. We've been looking around at what happened in Southeast Louisiana. Of course, they're in the same boat that we were in just a year ago. More parishes were affected. I forget the number. I think it's 12 or 13 parishes. But basically, the track of the hurricane came right up right west of Port Fourchon, right east of Houma, which spared Houma a lot of structural damage. And then unfortunately, Laplace caught the eastern eye wall of the hurricane. And it's, the damage there is what you'd expect, plus they had about a 12-foot storm surge in addition to that. So they got blown away by the hurricane and had a tremendous amount of storm surge. The issues they're having there are the same issues we had. Number one issue right now is shelters. A lot of the parishes, residents decided to stay home. Now they're having to evacuate a lot of those people. Last I heard, they were now looking at shelters potentially even out of state, just because there's so many more people in Southeast Louisiana than what we have. And essentially, we just have one or two parishes affected here for Hurricane Laura. Next issue is communications. Cell phone service is down. The state radio system, public safety radio system, about a third of it is down. All of Southeast Louisiana sites are down. So it's tough. And you know, we went through this as well. You just kind of search around till you find a signal. Next thing is fuel. Saw the parish president of Jefferson Parish, and she said that they were getting desperate for fuel. That's both fuel for their public safety and just for the residents who are there. And she has said several times that they have too many residents there. They can't get their recovery started because there's so many people driving around and whatever. But and then last is ice. Apparently, you know, people are still struggling to keep their households going. That tells you that there's still a lot of people in their houses if they're asking for ice. So earlier in the week, we sent, along with Beauregard Parish, to Ward 6 Fire Department, Ioway Fire Department, and two of the Beauregard fire districts, sent at the request of the Fire Marshal's office a water rescue strike team, 16 personnel. Fortunately, by the time they got there, they were not needed. But now there's another request now. Ward 6 has sent two fire trucks, water tankers, over to Galliano, which is in Lafourche Parish. We sent along a couple of OEP people with them just to kind of assess if there's anything we can do. From the standpoint of helping, the most logical places would be Terrebonne Parish and Lafourche Parish because they're accessible on the west side of the river. I'm in touch with the Terrebonne emergency manager. We've been helping him think through a few things. And we also have one of our emergency managers who's working in the Emergency Operations Center in Baton Rouge, working on the pod issue, helping the parishes sort out their pod issues. So with that, that's my report. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Grimion?
Mr. President, could I just add quickly?
Yes, sir.
In addition to that, the Animal Services Department, we have loaned the, I forgot which parish, Alan, one of our, vehicles, which is special for that. Things you don't maybe think of, but it was very much appreciated. Can you help me with the parish, do you know?
No, sir, it's the Animal Services Department that serves basically the greater New Orleans area.
Oh, okay.
And I don't really remember the acronym that's their name. In addition to that, we have sent to the same location some barricades and some other stuff through Public Works requests. So, we've been trying to help out where we can at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grimion. We appreciate everything that you do.
Move to adjourn.
So moved.